from the top, our mission, talking our meaning our business with the spellers, our cooperative economic venture here. Get that out of the way. Our cooperative economic venture, I've given it a name. It is AS Solutions, Akachi Speller Solutions, right? Our mission is to contribute to the well-being of our community through financial education, financial services, housing, and African-centered institutions. All right. What is our why? Well, family, community, wealth, and to assist the ancestors in resurrecting Black thought, principles, and unity. Great. That's what we're doing. That's why we're doing it. These are the 3 phases of AS Solutions. Number 1, asset acquisition strategy. I'm calling FALA. I'll talk to you about that in a minute. Number 2 is revenue distribution, how we all get paid. Number 3 is the pipeline. I'll explain that also. All right. Those other 2 things I got written down there are just for me, little notes for me, because I want to create illustrations for it, and I got an idea for the illustration, so don't worry about that. Number 1, asset acquisition, also known as FALA, meaning find the property, analyze the property, lock up the property, and acquire the property. Okay, asset acquisition. Our goals for asset acquisition is to acquire properties in great markets whose purchase price, rehab costs, along with closing costs and other associated fees do not surpass 70% after repair values. I should say that do not surpass. Yeah, let me go ahead and do that right now. That do not surpass 70%. That's better. Okay. All right. Our priorities for asset acquisition is to acquire properties that allow for easy equity liquidation, for good cash flow, and then acquiring properties for resale, and then to wash, rinse, and repeat. Those are our priorities. When we look at markets and we look at properties, that's our priorities list. All right. Number 1, still talking about asset acquisition. These are like the parameters for our asset acquisitions. Strictly investment properties, meaning they're investment properties. They are not properties that we'll use as investment properties / personal properties like the free vacation homes or the show we watched. These are just ideas and suggestions. 70% or less ARV, multifamily or several single families. Make sure that they're near schools, bases, arenas, really anywhere where people gather regularly. We want to make sure we look at the population drivers, new highways, malls, new arenas, things like that. We want to look at the local economy and see what is the local economy dependent on, what is it based on, and make sure that it's diverse and not mainly depending on one thing, like, you know, an industry like, let's say, Verizon. Most of the people in this little town all work at Verizon. If the local economy is based off Verizon and Verizon moves, then the local economy falls apart. Now our houses are, we're gonna have a whole bunch of people who can't pay, who all live in our houses. So we want to make sure that we're looking to acquire homes in places whose economy is diverse, so one industry don't control our market. And then for our other investments, our personal investments, I haven't gone through that yet. That's something that we can all discuss. But we want to make sure we probably going to have different criteria for investment properties that we're also going to use personally. All right. Number 2, we're moving on to number 2 of our phases here, of our AS Solutions phases. It's the second phase. Revenue distribution or sharing, how we get paid. 100% personal revenue. This is the extracted equity. That's how we primarily get paid. 80% should be reinvested. And then 20%, 10% for each family, is what we actually keep, and what is our income, less any monies paid to acquire the property. So say the Queen and myself, well, I'm just talking to you right now, babe, I'm tripping. So babe, let's say me and you put up $5,000 to acquire a property, and then once we extract the equity, put 80% back into the business, and then we take out the money we put in. So we put in $5,000, we take that out, and then the remainder of that 20%, we split 50-50, right? Of that, that 20%, and 100% of cash flow reinvested for first 12 months, right? So 100% of the cash flow, meaning the money that we get from the rents, we put back into the property, or we set aside for that specific property for maintenance, vacancies, etc. All the other things that come along with people living in your house, right? So I'm suggesting that as well. We do that with the cash flow for the first 12 months. And then once that the reserves for that property reaches a certain amount, maybe 10,000, maybe 20,000, and then we can begin to divvy up that cash flow amongst the families. All right, that's the revenue distribution or sharing, how we get paid. Number 3 is the pipeline, where we just acquire properties specifically for the purpose of just reselling them. Like, so we acquire some properties and we rehab them and we wholesale them. We just flip them, right? Other properties we buy and we don't rehab them. We just sell them as is for other investors who want to come in and rehab their own properties. That'll be really good for us, because then we don't ever have to acquire a loan for those properties, meaning we can utilize our loan getting capabilities on other properties. We can just flip those properties, get that quick money, and move on, right? So that's what I'm suggesting there. That's number 3. That's the pipeline. That's number 3 of the AS solution phases. And I think I got some stuff down here. The business tribe community pillars. These are things that we're gonna use, like, as a community. We'll have we get clear on our morals and spiritual principles. We develop a clear code of conduct. Economic foundation, financial literacy is what we promote. Then we have daily, monthly, 6-month, and annual goals. Don't worry about best practices, some I'm still working on. And then and this is something that I'm thinking that we should use for people who live in our properties, people in our community who live in our properties. Number 1, we create an intricate business, right? Then we create job descriptions for each position. Then we create scripts for each position. Then we establish a monetary value for each. And then we hire our people who live in our homes. Why? What's the purpose of that? To guard against our residents experiencing an inability to pay rent or mortgage, to promote cooperative economics, and to empower our community. I think that's important. And then below here is, like, you start with the end in mind. We have an evaluation point. After we acquire 20 properties or $5 million in assets, or 2 years, whichever comes first, we kind of see if we want to continue doing it this way, or if at that point do we want to just go our separate ways, because at that point the business should be self-sufficient. So that's pretty much it.